All right, welcome into the Oklahoma Sports Podcast. We are the little podcast on the prairie still. This is Jared and this is Chase.
How you doing today?
Not bad, man. Just getting in here. We've changed up the way we're recording a little bit, trying something a little bit more streamlined, try to make it easier, the whole editing process and all that. So That's been fun to set up. But
Definitely.
I think we conquered it at this point. So
I think so.
We'll see. And also, we were just talking about. I was able to get over the OU game. I was able to get over Bedlam after a couple days off it. Of course, Bedlam this last weekend, if you missed it, you might have been under a rock.
Must have been.
OU wins 48-47. Crazy game.
Yeah.
Initial takes.
The defense is what we thought it was, which we'll get into that later. The offense is maybe more than what we thought it could be at the beginning of the season. Passing and rushing both, I think, for over 300 yards. In the fourth straight game that OU's rushed for over 300. It's really clicking on that end. So the biggest takeaway for me is that the offensive line has just been so much better than I thought they were going to be. Even early in the season, we had some critiques of Creed Humphrey starting out, but again, he's a freshman starting at center, and now he's just looked great. Like, that offensive line is clicking. Yeah,
I was going to say, if we start this, let's start on a positive note. Yeah. try to keep our spirits up as we begin to talk about this. OU's offense unreal. Only scoring 14 points in the second half, but it was enough, just enough by 1 point. But again, 700 yards of total offense. It just feels so expected at this point.
Yeah.
And one thing I kind of talked about, and I've heard it at a couple different podcasts and things this week early on, that kind of echo a similar thing that I think is there was a point in this game where OU, I think, had a chance to run the ball and just basically become Kansas State or become, I don't know, some other good running team, Army or whatever. Just run it down their throat and see if you can shorten the game. And they kind of tried it. I was thinking about it. I was like, did they try that or not?
A few times.
There was a few times
and
where
they got called back for
one
a hold.
holding penalty can derail that whole idea. So I kind of get it. I mean,
and at this point with this offense, I just expect it to be explosive. You can look at it, and I think OU. I mean, I know for a fact OU is the only team that's in the top 10 in both passing offense and rushing offense in the nation. It's the number one ranked offense in the nation.
Total offense, number one.
Yeah, and so it's just hard because when an offensive line gets that big of a push, even if you're a team like Alabama, their offensive line isn't getting the same push that OU's is. And so they're not running for these big chunk plays, which just adds to the explosiveness. I think it's hard to slow down the pace of play when you want to run the ball, but you're running the ball for 11 yards a pop, like Kennedy Brooks was, or I think on average the OU ran for 7 yards an attempt.
7.5.
So when you're hitting those, and a lot of those are big plays, it's just hard to slow down an offense that just goes this fast and is this explosive.
Yeah, I mean, you're putting up points on the board as an offense. A lot of times the mindset is we're doing our job, and that's true. Your job is to go out there and put points on the board. It's just that this offense, in my mind, is so good.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can shift and say, this is what my team needs right now.
Yeah.
We've just got to, even if it means we score 7 less points a game, we'll see going forward. We got Kansas coming up this week, which we'll get into later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think Riley gets a little shy of, well, if I run the ball, one penalty can derail me, and then I'm like behind the chains. OU behind the chains isn't very good. When OU gets set with 2nd and 20, 1st and 20, 3rd and 20, they'll just run it up the middle.
Yeah.
They kind of fold a little bit, so it's kind of interesting to see how staying on schedule, as you'll hear a lot of commentators say, it just means trying to pick up a few yards each play. As long as they're going forward, they're fine. But when you put them backwards, a few times we saw them kind of lose a drive or
just
have to punt.
Off of a penalty.
Yeah, just one penalty can change things. So
yeah, and I agree. OU's most dangerous in those 2nd and shorts. When it's a 2nd and 2 and you've got the ball towards the middle of the field, the defense doesn't know what's going to come because Lincoln does such a good job play calling that they could run or pass out of any formation, and they've got so many weapons. So I think the key is just to be positive on first down and kind of go from there.
Yeah. OU picking up 29 first downs, which seems crazy. But then you look over at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State picked up 39 first downs. Of course, OU outgaining them in yardage, which is interesting. But OU at least made them drive it down the field, but Oklahoma State was very successful in doing so. And we might as well talk about the way the game ended. Oklahoma State scores with about a minute left. decides to go for 2 rather than trying to tie the game up. I like the call. I think it's correct.
Yeah, when your team is not there, not comparable talent wise, and your kickers already missed a field goal and an extra point during the game itself, I don't blame Gundy for doing it. If OU's defense is anything, it's a 2-point conversion stopper, apparently.
They've been good on 2-point conversions randomly.
If they could just translate that to the rest of the game, maybe they'd be okay. But.
I just wanted to talk about the 2-point conversion for a minute because there's a couple weird narratives, I'd say, going around about it. Number one is I've seen some people question the call by Gundy. We've covered that. That's the right call. Mm-hmm. Number two is a lot of people say, you got lucky on that play. They did a little bit. That play was there, but Trey Brown, the way he recovered, the angle he used, that ball would have had to have been
pinpoint.
In a diameter about this big.
And that's not what Corn Dog does.
And specifically I want to get into, a lot of people talked about him rolling to his right. Mm-hmm. When he's moving to his right-handed quarterback, for whatever reason, he just can't. He has a hard time with it. He threw 2 picks early in the season on that, and that I never found this, but I saw some people say that the coaching staff for Oklahoma State said we're not going to put him in that situation because he struggles rolling to the right and throwing the ball to the right.
Yeah.
And as we know on that 2-point conversion, he does kind of like a little. It's kind of like almost like a quarterback draw looking thing, and then he goes out to the right, and that's when he throws it. Yeah. And so he's rolling to his right, and he throws it a little bit. It's really not what I'd call behind him. It's kind of right at him and low. And Trey Brown just breaks on the ball and knocks it down, and they go celebrate.
Yeah, made a great play. The timing of that play, just in general, felt off from the snap, from the get-go. It's I don't know. I would have. Obviously I'm happy with the result. If I would have been on Oklahoma State side of things, I would have liked something that wasn't as quite vanilla.
Yeah.
On the play call, even though it's worked. I mean, it looked like the exact same play that Clemson used to beat Alabama in the national championship game 2-3 years ago. And so again, all in all, it's a good win against a rival at home who you knew was just gonna bring it and try to play tough, hard-nosed football and go from there. So. All in all, I'm happy. 1-point win, 10-point win, 20-point win.
Right.
A win's a win.
A win's a win. One thing I wanted to clear up, we don't want to hound on the defense too much on this podcast. I think everybody does that so much. And you all know, you watch the games. You guys are somewhat intelligent, I would assume, and you can see that the defense isn't very good. We know that. So we both thought that OU would cover the spread last week, which was 21.5 at the kick. But I think when we said it was 19.
It was 19.
So
it wasn't
not as
quite
bad.
3 scores, but still.
But then looking back at that, I don't know how OU was ever going to cover that. I think we just got a little goonered up. We got a little excited.
Saw some posts, some trash talk.
We saw some trash talk, got fired up ourselves like you do. I'm sure you guys at home thought OU would cover that spread too. But it's interesting, a really good offense like Oklahoma State, and again, Cornelius missed a few easy throws, but a really good offense like that, that's a big spread. It's a big number, especially in a rivalry game.
Yes.
Even though it is in Norman, that was a bad pick by us.
Yeah.
I was just letting people know.
Yeah. I'll be the first to say that I was completely wrong on that and just got caught up in the goonerish side of things when
we got spun up.
Yeah, thought with my heart, not my head on that one.
But that's like one of the first ones we've missed, to be fair. So I'm not too mad about that. Let's move on to Kansas. I think Oklahoma State, OU, always a crazy game. Bedlam.
Always. Yep.
Bedlam is Bedlam. But this week, senior night in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's a home game. 6:30 kick, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
I don't know why though.
I'm not sure either.
I don't know why it's a 6:30 kick. Let me say that.
Yeah. Again, I don't. You would think playing Kansas, this would be a prime game to put at 11 o'clock.
We figured it would be.
I figured it would be, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just scheduling stuff. It's on Fox this week or FS1 instead of.
I think it's Fox.
Instead of on, I feel like ESPN kicks have normally been the 11 o'clock kicks for whatever reason. And then when it's been on Fox or FS1, it's been a later kick. And so I don't know if that factored into it, but again, I don't foresee this game going any other way than the way we think it's going to go and an OU win.
Yeah, right now sitting at a 35-point spread. Obviously, OU the favorites there. I'm not sure about that yet. You look at Kansas, and Kansas is Kansas still. They're really bad. But they've won 3 games this year, which is way better than they've done in the past. Their head coach is still coaching, but he's been let know that he's not going to have a job next year, which is odd. You don't always see that. So it'd be interesting to see how the players come into Norman, knowing that they probably got a beat down on the way, and their coach is leaving, and it's gonna be interesting to see how they get up for this game. I expect the Sooners to look really good.
Because it's senior night. I think they'll play. I think they'll play well. I think you're gonna see almost a carbon copy of the OU Kansas State game in terms of how OU gets going and gets started and gets fired up early, and then kind of extends with lead. Now, I don't know that it'll be that big of a lead by the end of the game. I don't know if it'll be 51-14, the final, but I think it's going to be along those lines of OU just takes control early and it just never really looks like it's in doubt.
Yeah, and that's how we've played Kansas in the past for the most part.
Yeah.
Has been pretty dominant, you might say. So, I look for it to be one of those lesser stressful weeks where we can just kind of chill and watch a fun game.
And check out some other college football while we do
other
it.
games. Just to mention it really quickly, Iowa State at Texas this week.
Big game for the Big 12.
And basically the winner – we'll get into those scenarios in a minute.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but that's going to be a big game. So, there's some fun games to watch for sure.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it and looking forward to kind of hopefully coasting through the weekend as an OU football fan.
So, let's talk Big 12 championship game scenarios.
Yeah, there's quite a few actually.
Yeah, so if you look at the screen, and there's a whole lot of – let me click mine and make it bigger so I can see it. There's a lot of dark colors.
It's kind of chaotic, yeah.
It's a little crazy, but if you look at it, you see a lot of crimson. As an OU fan, it makes you feel good.
Yeah, definitely.
Basically, if you're OU, you just need to win out, and everything's taken care of. You'll be the 1 seed. And then it gets a little bit crazy. So there's scenarios where, OU could match up with Texas. There's scenarios where OU could match up again with West Virginia, which is really likely, I think.
I think so, too.
And there's a couple scenarios where OU matches up with Iowa State in a rematch.
And that's why this game, we mentioned it a little bit earlier, the game against with Iowa State and Texas is so big. Because if Iowa State can win that game, then, they basically kind of control their own destiny as far as making it to the Big 12 championship game, I believe, especially if OU beats West Virginia.
Yeah. So we might have a weird scenario where literally OU plays West Virginia, and then in the championship game, OU plays West Virginia again back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, which would be something else.
It'd be really strange. I can't imagine trying to scheme for that. Like, say OU wins big against West Virginia. Because OU's played West Virginia well the last couple of years. So imagine they win big, and then the West Virginia staff has to turn around and go, okay, we got to figure something out before next week. It's kind of a bad situation for OU.
And it makes me wonder if both those teams are going to be very simple schematically. They're not going to show the full playbook, or they may keep some wrinkles out just in case they do play each other.
I think it's more likely that they add some rather than not showing some.
Because I guess at this point,
in a game like that, you've got to win. It doesn't.
It
doesn't matter if you put it on film or not. You need to win. It's late. So I think it's more likely that maybe they do show everything, but then they add some things like, well, they really were biting on that certain play action, so let's run a weird swing pass with it or whatever. I see some things like that. I was just going to ask you, what's the matchup that you would want in the Big 12 championship?
I want OU Texas again, quite honestly, because you've never seen them. I don't know if you've ever seen them play twice in a season. I mean,
no, I don't.
I don't know if they've ever met. I doubt they've ever met
in our lifetime. I don't think.
But that would be cool to see them play again in a neutral site, but this time in Jerry World, I believe, instead of at the Cotton Bowl, just a couple minutes down the road.
Yeah, which is what a lot of people want. A lot of people want OU Texas to move to Arlington.
Yeah,
I have mixed feelings on that, but it would be interesting, like you said, to see it in a different venue a second time. Yeah. And I think OU would really be up for that game.
I think so too. I think all these games are going to be interesting. If OU's in it, of course, that's what I'm looking for. But OU and West Virginia, they're probably the two best teams in the Big 12. If it's OU Iowa State, probably the two best young coaches maybe in all of college football. Yeah. And then OU Texas, it's the Red River rivalry, the Red River shootout, whatever you want to call it, part 2.
That is fun. All three of those scenarios have a lot of cool storylines that you could see play out.
And all three of those games, I think, will be better than a lot of other championship Saturday games in other conferences.
At least be more fun to watch. Yeah. So, keep an eye out for the scenarios. Again, it depends a lot on this weekend, and then obviously there's a few games. Big one for OU the week after. Yep. So keep your eye out on the Big 12. We got some crazy stuff coming down the pipe.
And I guess now's a good time to talk about this last week for Oklahoma City Thunder. They had a few big games.
Yeah. Losing to the Mavs Saturday night, which we missed a lot of because we had people over. I didn't get to see a whole lot of it. We had it on the screen. The Thunder rather. Just not really hooking up that game. It seemed like.
No.
Then the Suns games happens the next night, or
last night when we were recording Monday night. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Thunder really rolled over the Suns, so that's a better sign.
Yeah, definitely. And again, we were just kind of hanging out, not really paying attention to the game on Saturday. I think we looked up at one point in the first half, and the Thunder were down like 16, which is to be expected. Like we said, you can't be expected to beat every bad team without your best player.
Yeah.
And especially when, the bench for all intents and purposes is kind of, convoluted again. With Felton running that second unit, it's looked choppy, it's looked broken. Felton, I've noticed he looks for his shot a lot more in isolation situations than out of a pick and roll or to drive and kick. And I think in that Mavs game, let me check and see, he was 3 of 12 from the field.
Jeez.
1 of 6 from 3. He wasn't good. And he wasn't all that great against the Suns, but the Suns are the Suns.
Right.
So if there's any problems that your team needs fixing, you call Phoenix first and see if you can get a game in, because that's the team that's going to help you get back on track.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point there. We're not going to beat every single team without Russell Westbrook. Yeah. And that Mavs game is just one of those games that's going to happen. I think when we talked about the next 7 games, you said there's going to be a game or two we drop there, and I agree. And that, just wasn't a good performance from the beginning. And like you said, Raymond Felton just kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's like he's just really, really trying to get his shot going. He's kind of had a rough go of it to start this season. And he's trying to get into the game by forcing it a lot. And a lot of players do this. I think he's got to slow down and catch his groove. It's going to help when Westbrook comes back.
Yeah.
He gets a lesser role a little bit. Schroeder's been good, though. He's been fun to watch.
Yeah, Dennis has been a monster, whether it be in the pick and roll. He's, against Phoenix, he had the 3-ball going a little bit, hit some big shots. Defensively, he's been great.
That's an understatement.
Yes.
He's so fast.
Yeah.
He's just a tenacious
great.
defender.
When they played Phoenix, I noticed a lot of times, which Ayton's a rookie, so he would catch the ball at the high post, and instead of keeping it high, he'd bring it down to his waist, and you would just see Dennis Schroeder pop in, poke the ball out, and they'd be gone on the fast break. I mean, from the beginning of that game, Phoenix had no chance. I think the Thunder were up 24-5 at one point, something like that. Like they went on a 19-0 run. It was great. I had just kind of had it on the background. Didn't really have to worry about it.
It feels good.
Yeah, a little bit in the second half, but they still ended up winning by 17?
17. Yeah. So like you said, Phoenix crept back a little bit in the second half. But yeah, there was a point in the first quarter where it was 24-5 or whatever. But there's like 3 minutes left in the quarter.
Yeah.
I was crossing my fingers that we held them under double digits in the first quarter because it would be all over the internet, and that's always funny to laugh about. But there was a massive dunk that was had in that game.
Off the backboard.
Yeah, off the backboard.
It was late in
from
the fourth.
Paul George to Jeremy Grant. That was awesome. But you love to see things like that without Russell Westbrook, because that means other guys are kind of starting to learn to create energy and create hype and get excited. Russ was on the bench, of course, for that game, so he's waving his towel and doing his thing in his little fit, looking sharp. But you just love seeing this team kind of gel. And when you see plays like that, because on the play, Ferguson is standing there, he's jumping up and down as Grant's in the air to dunk it. Just gets you so hype. You can tell these guys really are starting to like each other. And as we know, chemistry is a huge, huge factor in the grind of the NBA.
Yeah, it's massive. And, you don't want to say that Russell Westbrook being out with an injury is a blessing, but it's really let these guys, especially some of these young guys, it's let Schroeder kind of find his way on the floor and know that he can kind of do it and create. It's let Paul George, be able to create more as well. These guys who don't normally, both those guys are going to be heavy in isolation with both units, but with Russ out, they've really had to take on that burden, and it's allowed them to grow and allowed even that second unit some. You get to see more of Diallo kind of creating off the dribble, attacking a closeout. You saw Terrence Ferguson, who's looked really good, honestly.
He was good in the Phoenix game.
I don't think nobody really looked good against the Mavericks. For whatever reason, they just kind of came out flat, which is understandable.
On the road.
They beat Houston at home, really good win. They went on the road, beat Cleveland. So you're going to come off with a little bit of a hangover after some tough games. But the things you can take from all these games so far is that this defense, even without Dre, has looked unreal.
That's the thing.
They figured it out.
You got Andre Roberson sitting over there in the street clothes too. You know, you forget that. But yeah, when you put it the way you put it just now, it kind of does feel like a blessing, and it's weird to say that. But like you said, all these other guys having bigger roles has forced them to figure it out basically on the fly. We see Paul George just turning into a human torch. Guy had 32 points, 6 of 10 3-point shooting. And he made all 4 free throws that he attempted.
Yeah.
So that's a good feeling, too.
I think OKC only missed 1 free throw the entire game.
Yeah, you're right. 95, 19 out of 20.
Which is
So
great.
we're going like this in the free throw department. Fear not.
It's really just the whole season has gone like that. From the beginning, it's just like they started slow didn't have Russ, got Russ back, knocked the rust off, and just continue. There's a couple of hitches, but again, even the best teams are going to lose games. I mean, I believe the Golden State Warriors lost to the Clippers in overtime.
That was one of the teams that OKC lost to earlier this season.
And the Spurs lost to the Kings. So a lot of these lower Western Conference teams have a lot of good young talent, and the Mavs do as well. They've got some good guys, some veterans mixed with some young kids. So
yeah, you're right.
You gotta take what you can get and not expect to win every game. But when you have a 7-game stretch like we've talked about, where there's one team above 500 in that entire schedule, you need to go 5-2. You need to win most of those games you should win, and then kind of go from there, because with the rest of the top of the Eastern Conference, the top of the Western Conference being so tough, you've got to get wins where you can.
Yeah, that's right. I totally agree. And it's just cool to see Paul George playing the way he is again. Defensively, he's been awesome. Offensively, he's really picked it up as well. So it feels good, because I saw someone tweet this, and I want to see how you feel about it. It feels like he's back in that conversation of best two-way player in the NBA, him and Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, he's averaging almost 3 steals a game, which doesn't get talked about enough. And, I kind of got mad online there for a little bit on Twitter, because I kept seeing people say, Paul George isn't playing well. Paul George isn't playing well. Paul George isn't playing well. He shot 7 in the win against Houston. He shot 7 of 21 from the field. He didn't shoot great from the 3-point line. Ended up with 20 points, like 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 6 steals.
Yeah.
So what people do is they may not watch the entire game, and they're just stat hunting. They're thinking, oh, you have to shoot 50% from the field and 40% from three to play good. And they don't take into account that Russ was out. He had to be the primary ball creator in that offense. And on the defensive end, he had to help lock down 2 of the best perimeter players in the league in Chris Paul and James Harden. So to think that he can do all of that and be able to shoot what he does from the field, it's kind of egregious. I mean, he basically shut those 2 guys down. I think Harden ended up with 15 that game, and Chris Paul not much better.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, after that game, it was like, oh, he's not played well. And so from that to now in the Phoenix game, you can tell he's just progressed, gotten better and better. And he even talked in that Phoenix game, he got in a little bit of a foul trouble. But what shouldn't go understated is Terrence Ferguson's defense on Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Held him to 19 points on 19 shots and made life difficult for him. And so he's really got some confidence. He had a huge dunk to start the game, hit a corner 3. Just the team's really gelling right now, even without 2 starters.
Yeah, and like you said, the Thunder just figuring it out. Pesky defense. They're 8-2 in their last 10, which is just amazing. It'd be cool if we could keep that up. Yeah, you got to take advantage of the schedule that they're given. It play the best you can. And like you said, it's really cool to see Terrence Ferguson playing good defense and picking things up. So you really got to like where the Thunder are right now.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess, we can look forward a little bit to the next 3 games on the schedule. They're at home versus the Knicks Wednesday, so that'll be the day after this pod comes out. Okay. And then they're at Phoenix, 3rd time they played Phoenix in the first month of the season.
Is it 3rd or 4th?
Third, I think.
Okay.
And then they have a game at Sacramento again. So
revenge game.
Yeah, and so I think that Phoenix game is going to be tough because you've already blown that team out twice in such a short span. Yeah. It might be hard to get up for that game.
You might catch them on a good night, too.
Yeah, and they'll be ready because they're just tired of getting blown out and seeing your face, essentially. And so again, I think they should go 3-0. I know Russ has been declared out for that Knicks game on Wednesday, but they said he's day-to-day. They just haven't had a lot of practice time, but they should have a few days off after that Knicks game for him to get on the court and get some treatment. So I hopefully, as we come into this pod next week, OKC is sitting, 3 games more, at 11 and 5, 11 and 4 on the schedule. So hopefully we'll have a few wins and can keep on that upward trajectory.
So let's talk random NBA stuff that went on. Big news.
Yeah, a lot of big news.
Starting off with the Jimmy Butler trade. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Jimmy Butler finally got what he wanted. Finally got him Minnesota. The breaking point on that, he played 41 minutes against Sacramento. Yeah. And in his quote, he said that his head coach, Tom Thibodeau, mismanaged his minutes. He said, I don't understand. There's 14 other guys plus or minus a few expletives in the quote himself.
Yeah.
There's 14 other guys on the team. Why am I playing this much against this team? And that was the breaking point. The next day, they trade him to the Philadelphia 76ers. Him and another guy, Justin Patton, who's been in the league about 2 years, had some foot injuries. Trade him and Jimmy Butler to the Celtics for Dario Saric, Robert Covington, and a 2022 second-round pick.
Okay.
So what interested me was that the Wolves didn't get a first-round pick in the deal.
Yeah.
You can tell they just wanted to get off of Jimmy Butler as fast as possible.
Had to get some value for him.
And they got two really good shooters. Covington's really good defensively.
Yeah.
Saric is a good playmaker. You just never saw it in Philly because he was playing with Simmons, who's ball dominant, and Embiid, who is just a monster inside. So I think it's a good trade on both ends. The Minnesota Timberwolves get to reset, and Philly is now a legit contender in the East.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on both those teams as they kind of go through some transitions early in the season. We want to bring up, because it's awesome, basically, KD and Draymond Green drama.
Yeah, here it is.
So kind of intro what's going on for us.
So this is the end of the game against the Clippers. Golden State's bringing up the floor. It's tied up. KD is calling for the ball, and Draymond just isn't having it. He goes up the floor, doesn't pass it, turns the ball over, and then this right here is KD and Draymond
like,
getting into
ball,
it.
Man.
Yeah, he's saying, yeah, which I don't know why you wouldn't. You know, he's probably the third best player in the league right now. And they kind of get into it, going back and forth, and
oh man,
yeah, I mean,
I actually hadn't seen this angle yet.
Yeah, they're really going at it. Look
at Iguodala trying to stop him.
Yeah, at one point he walks away. DeMarcus Cousins has to play peacemaker again. This has been the weirdest NBA season. I just don't get it. See, here it goes again. Iggy's playing peacemaker. DeMarcus Cousins on the other end playing peacemaker. There it is.
Trying to calm the guys down, and they took an L in this game.
Yeah, they got beat in overtime. They're just it's been something else.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess, to be honest. And then there's a lot of stuff. Draymond Green, we know now, is going to be suspended for tonight's game. This is Tuesday night
without
pay for this, and apparently said some things about KD being an expletive, and KD's something about his free agency, which is why I think he got suspended.
I think so too.
Is because they're like, don't start agging this stuff on because it's going to tear our team apart.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing. You know, a lot of people said coming into the season was Golden State's far and away the best team in the league, but can they block out the distractions that are coming in 2019 with that free agency? And so far, they haven't done a great job of it. And so it's interesting to see Steph's been out. He had a groin injury, so they're taking him super slow. But it's interesting to see that this happened when Steph didn't travel with the team. It's Steph is kind of the leader on that squad, regardless of all these other antics, regardless what they say. Kevin Durant's the best player. I think Steph is the leader and the glue and the guy that holds that team together.
Yeah.
And without him there, you can see it just kind of blew up.
Yeah, it blew up. Yeah, it blew up bad. It's kind of funny, but let's check out our guy Trae Young.
Yeah, he's been killing, man. Again, this is a stat that just shows Trae Young is more than a three-point shooter. I know, which a lot of people who are going to watch and listen to this pod know. They've watched Trae for a long time. They know that he's not just a guy who's going to spot up from 35, 40 feet out and hit a three-pointer every once in a while. He's third in the league in assists, averaging almost 9 a game. And this stat right here shows you that, he's shooting 60% on drives to the paint. So he's breaking his man down, getting to the rim, and finishing around bigs. And, that was a knock on him. Can he play with NBA athleticism? Right. Can he play he's undersized? Can he get to the rim and finish? And if you look at these names on this list, I know it's early, but, I mean, all these guys are...
It's good company, though.
Yeah, it's great company. Most of these guys are big, and then you have the anomaly in Steph Curry, who's...
He's also a great finisher at the rim.
Yeah, that in himself is he's an anomaly. All these other guys are either big or De'Aaron Fox at the very bottom of the screen, super athletic. He's very bouncy. So I'm glad to see Trae doing what he's doing. And like we talked about earlier, averaging almost 19, I believe.
18 and a half or something.
Yeah, and 8 or 9 assists a game. Like, he's looked great and just proven more and more that he was worth in Atlanta's eyes, that trade up with Luka Doncic to that 3 pick. And right now he's showing that it's not a bad trade.
It's looking good so far. And also another OU guy we've had our eye on, Buddy Hield for the Kings. leading them in scoring right now.
Yeah, that's a good, fun young team, and Buddy's doing everything on that squad. He's playing defense, shooting the ball well, finishing at the rim. I think they said that he runs the second most miles on the floor per game.
Wow.
So he's running, I think they said, almost 3 miles a game. He's running off of screens.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so having to defend him on a night-in, night-out basis must be terrible because he's constantly on the move and doing his thing. And that team, again, you've seen them beat the Thunder. They beat the Spurs. They've had some quality wins, and I don't think they're going to slow down. Like we said, I think they'll end up in the lottery, the very top of it. Probably about 3 weeks left in the season. So it's encouraging to see some of these OU guys, and we haven't even talked about Blake Griffin, but he's been playing great in Detroit. It's fun to see these guys that we got to watch at OU, and two of these guys watch locally in high school kind of grow up and play big-time basketball.
Yeah. OU's basketball program really taking some steps forward in terms of talent. Lon Kruger's got him, playing with some stars. So it's really cool to see, and that's going to boost OU's recruiting a lot. So if you're a person that follows OU basketball at all, we got some good stuff coming.
Yeah, they've got actually, not to get off track on that, but I think tomorrow or, Wednesday, they've got 3 4-star recruits signing to come play at OU. So again, Lon's going to get those guys going, and OU basketball is in a good place right now.
Yep. Everything looking pretty decent. Thunder on a pretty hot streak, 8 out of the last 10. OU just keeps winning ball games and has Kansas coming up at home for senior night. It's going to be a good week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it again. Hopefully we can come back happy as always on this pod and not be stressing.
Positive. Yeah. So again, thank you guys for watching Oklahoma Sports Podcast on Twitter and other socials. Please help share our videos. It's awesome when you guys do that. We appreciate that a lot. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's the biggest thing right now. We're also on Apple Pod, so leave a good review if you're listening there, and subscribe there too.
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts, of course. So keep doing what you're doing. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, and we appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks again.